Alright, well, welcome to today's video where we're going to talk about something a little different. But in front of you, we have a little Trailblazer instrument cluster. I already have a couple of videos on how to do a rebuild on them, so just check those out if you're interested in seeing how to rebuild it. This one, we're just going to talk about something I've been seeing more of lately. I don't know if just more people are doing it or if it's because I'm getting more mail-ins and less local repairs. Because down here in Florida, we don't have vehicle inspections, so pretty much anything goes. But in these other states where I'm getting mail-ins from, they have inspections and they have to pass inspection. So yeah, a lot of these mail-in instrument cluster I've been getting lately, you'll see this little hint to what's going on here. Yeah, what do you see hanging out right there? It's a little electrical tape, and that's your check engine light. So yeah, I've just been seeing more and more of this lately, of hidden air lights. So this one, the check engine light, the airbag, and ABS light were all covered. I already pulled off those two before I decided to do the video. First, let's start with what can we look for if we're buying a vehicle. So if you're the customer out trying to buy a car right now, and it's an older car like this where there's likely some sort of problem going on with it. How are you going to catch if somebody's, just covered the air lights or not? Well, first of all, most cars, when you turn the key on, they'll turn on all the lights momentarily. Most of the GM products actually don't turn on the check engine light momentarily, but they'll turn on all the other ones. So, like if you notice that the airbag and the ABS light's not lighting up, it's time to ask questions. And don't accept the answer of, oh, the bulb's probably burned out, because on at least the newer ones from like 2000 and newer, those bulbs are all LEDs, so it's highly unlikely that they burn out. Now, LEDs do burn out; it does happen, but it's not common at all, especially the air lights, because their duty cycle is not 100% of the time. They're just not on all the time. Backlights a little bit more believable because they're on a lot, but the air lights, they're just not on 100% of the time. So the other things you can look for are signs that somebody's messed with the instrument cluster. Um, Biggest sign that you'll find are thumbprints on the screen, which we have one on here. So good evidence that somebody had been inside here was there's a thumbprint on here, because these don't wipe off. This, you can't wipe this screen off. If you try to, you'll leave a bunch of scratches on it. The other thing you can look for are prime marks around the bezel, but I mean that doesn't necessarily mean somebody messed with the instrument cluster. Could have just been installing an aftermarket radio, something like that. Um, so then the last thing, which is just get one of these OBD2 scanners and scan the car for error codes before you buy it. You can buy one of these things, like this one's like 15 bucks, this one's like 50 bucks. Just get one of these little $15 ones, and you install an app on your cell phone, and you just plug it in there and scan for error codes. And that'll not just tell you if the light's on, that'll tell you what's going on with it anyways. But the moment you find out that the error light's not on, but there's an error with the car or the trouble light's not on, you need to walk away from it, because the person's just a con artist at that point. They're gonna lie and scheme and just walk away. If and that's the other issue with this is fraud. Covering up this light, that's fraud, because you're selling them the car as if there's nothing wrong with it. You're hiding the problem from them. You're lying to them. It's fraud. It's plain and simple fraud. And, if you catch somebody doing something like this and it turns out to be an expensive repair, you can take them to court and you'll definitely win, even if they sold you the car as is, because they intentionally hid the problem from you, and that's fraud. So, it's the same as them rolling the odometer back. Catching something like this and catching odometer rollbacks, same thing. It really is. It's pretty cut and dry, plain and simple. That's a scam. All right, so for the second part of the video, let's talk about as a technician, you receive an instrument cluster, something like this going on. What do you do? Obviously, the first thing you do is you message the owner and you go, "Hey, I got your instrument cluster. I opened it up and this is what I found. I found that this had been taped down, or the LED had been removed from the board and is missing. Um, and just let them know what's going on there, so that way they can immediately start figuring out what's going on their end with their car. Like, does it have trouble codes? What's going on there? And the second thing is, you need so depending on what your terms of service were on your repair, if you're doing them out, like I currently don't put out a terms of service. I need to. I need to start doing that. They tell you not to fix it. It's kind of a trouble area. Like, they've now told you can't do that service to their instrument cluster. So you have to make the decision: do you just refuse to do any service to it, or are you going to fix it? Now this customer wants it repaired, so I'm not in that situation here. I've run into it before though, where I'll find like, hey, the bulb's been ripped off the board. Then I'll message in the person and go, hey, this is what's going on with your board. And they go, oh yeah, I know, I did that to it. And you go, okay, well, part of my repair service is I'm going to fix everything going on with the board, because that's what I do with it. Is like, hey, I'm going to fix everything. But I've had people say, no, don't fix it. I'm not going to pay you if you fix it. So there's been a couple of them where I just haven't repaired it before, but I need to change my terms of service beforehand, that basically they're agreeing to everything we fix. 'Cause I don't like putting them back out on the road like that, because I know eventually they're going to go sell that car and tell the person, oh yeah, I had the instrument cluster serviced, they fixed all these problems with it. And then when the customer finally finds out, hey, I have bad O2 sensors in the car and the check engine light's not on, and they go message your seller, they'll be like, oh, it must have been the guy that fixed it. They'll blame it on you. It'll become your problem. They'll roll their lies, because if they're gonna lie to somebody to sell the car, they're gonna lie about when it happened. So you know you should do everything in your power to fix these, but I wouldn't just you know if they tell you not to do it, you're in a sticky situation, like, because now you're doing an unauthorized repair to their instrument cluster. Like, they told you not to do it, and it's not yours to do whatever you want to, unless you have a terms of service that says, hey, if you're sending this instrument cluster into me, I'm not going to allow this to go out. Like I'm not going to allow an instrument cluster to go out with 0 miles on it, or I'm not going to allow an instrument cluster to go out with faulty things. It's a tough situation to be in. So it's something, as a technician, you need to have a plan of how to deal with this situation, because you should not want to be party to fraud, plain and simple. Because even if you're not the one liable, even if you knew this was going on with it, but you're not the one that sold the car, or you're not liable. There's no threat to you. You can still get subpoenaed and have to show up to court and be like, and just testify, yes, this instrument cluster came in, and I did this repair on it, and they refused service on that. Um, that could be the case. It's not likely. It's highly unlikely that that would ever happen. But do you really want to run the risk of having to go to court over somebody trying to make an extra $1,000 off their truck they're trying to sell? Like, extra $500, and maybe even, because if it's so clapped out that they got a check engine light that they're not fixing, I'm sure there's other stuff wrong with it. The truck's not worth much in the first place. But I don't know. Getting off topic here, but it's just something I want you to think about as a technician. Is what do I do when I run into this situation? Because I've run into it multiple times where people have refused to have it fixed, and like, after thinking about it, I've run into some other situations here recently with mail-in repairs where I've decided I really need to write a terms of service, basically, but like, hey, sign this before you mail in the instrument cluster. And basically the terms of service needs to cover a couple of things, like the no fix no fee policy of, if it's a mail in, yet I'm not going to charge you for diagnostics, but you still have to pay for your return shipping. Same goes with the um, that this situation where, you know, all error lights will be tested and repaired before the instrument cluster goes back, and then have another section on there where payment is due before your instrument cluster is sent back, because I've run into that recently too. So those are really three sections I need to cover and have like a pre terms of service agreement on repairing an instrument cluster, and something you should consider doing too, just to cover your own ass. You might be like me, where you're just doing everything off of Facebook Marketplace or people that email you. It's still, I'm getting busy enough where I really need to have a terms of service, and you probably should consider getting something like that written before you get into that situation. But yeah, that's all what I really wanted to talk about on this one. This one's going to be a really basic repair here. I just got to pull off that piece of tape and then replace all the bulbs and replace all the stepper motors. This one's a simple repair here. No point in doing another video on this. I already have some on how to repair this exact circuit board. So I hope you guys liked the video. I hope I didn't ramble on too much, and I'll see you guys in the next one.